UKLC is presented by Barclays and Curry's PC World.
Welcome back to the UKLC. We are heading into our third matchup of the day, MNM Academy versus Demise, and this also has the potential to be incredibly close. MNM has definitely impressed me. Harry especially had some excellent performances on Caitlyn, obviously one of his signature champions, and obviously Demise. They're a great team. They obviously have the wow factor of Rifty. I think he's obviously always going to be the draw when Rifty is on a team, especially at this level. This is going to be a very, very interesting affair. I actually couldn't call it heads or tails between the two of them, Orcs.
So I think if it was the same rosters we had last week, I think it could be more even. But I feel like I'm leaning towards Demise, and that's because they've changed mid laners. And not to sort of discredit Wolf, but in the past couple of games, he did look a little bit rough. He wasn't having quite the impact we were hoping for. And it became pretty heavily reliant on Rifty to sort of provide for the team and be a pocket of pressure for them to lean on. With Beely, I feel someone who has quite a bit of experience. I actually feel like this Demise roster is running out pretty nicely, and I think they could continue to be one of these top contenders. So I am leaning towards them as a result. However, I will say for the start of MNM, although they haven't changed any players, one of my concerns after week one was Gudunica, and he has really looked a lot better. So definitely one that could go either way. I think Harry is a big player to watch in the AD carry role. But I mean, it goes without saying for Demise, it's all about Rifty. What can he do? Can Eragon stop him? That's going to be the questions.
I mean, obviously, the other big story with Demise, like you said, is that Beely has come in the mid lane. Talk to me about that switch out. Talk to me about what that changes for Demise. Maybe some difference in playstyles because of that switch. I mean, Beely is someone that's had experience, but he's usually been that sub role. Like, he's had some first team experience, but Beely has had, I would say, more experience as a sub on UKLC level teams.
So he has had time. There was on Darkspawn, he was the starting mid laner, and Enclave, where those are the two teams where he really got to show his stuff. I think on Enclave he looked really good at times, and I think more than anything, this is Beely meta. You know, with Azir being such a prominent pick, that is to me very much a Beely pick, and I think those sort of mages that you can scale up on really suit him. I absolutely think that it's a great meta for him. I think he's a solid player, and hopefully if we see the similar form from what we saw from him at his best, this could be two really strong solo laners for Demise, coupled with PFI as a great early jungler and a very consistent bot lane. And I'm pretty happy, in all honesty. I think this roster, I think it's an upgrade. And again, not to discredit Wolf, but I just think he wasn't quite pulling his weight before. So excited to see it. And I think as well, my question is going to be towards Vango, because I think in the laner phase, he's looked a little bit off. He was getting challenged quite a bit. He does tend to deliver more later in the game, but I could see Beely really trying to bring the pressure to him, especially as it's his first game of the split. You want to be trying to sort of show what you can do.
Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, we chatted to PFI last week, and we talked a bit about that early jungling style that he has. You know, I've always associated him with Elise, and he said, "I've been working to expand it. You know, I've always had it in my ability, but I haven't had the opportunity to break it out. And this meta is really suiting a different style of jungle play. So, you know, I think PFI has also been sort of going from strength to strength. Now, I'm being told that we're pretty close to picks and bans here, so we're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we are going to dive into picks and bans between MNM and Demise. We're into the picks and bans here for MNM versus Demise. They are both 3-1 in the UKLC as it stands, and obviously they are currently, as you said, there was a four-way tie for first here, and one of them could take that lead and claim first place in the UKLC. Let's take a look where we are. It is a Kalista ban, and it is going to be MNM on blue side with Demise on red.
A little bit tricky this is for Demise because I expect to see the Caitlyn ban come out. Right. Yep, so instantly that's one of these power picks you're not going to be able to take off the table away from MNM. I will say, though, Demise on red side when you have Rifty, not a fun time. You can guarantee counter pick in that situation, and it basically just kind of throws a gauntlet down towards Aragon. What is a safe blind he's confident to take into Rifty? Difficult ask, but Ezreal going to get taken away, and the Wukong, something that Rifty did have a really strong performance on. And obviously can be flexed. Syndra going to be the final one.
Does Varus pick up for Harry, right?
It leaves Varus open. If Harry wants to lean towards that, typically we see him playing more scaling auto attackers, and he ends up going towards the Aphelios. So despite the sort of proficiency a lot of players have given to Varus, he's preferring the more auto attack based champions, and will go for that Aphelios. And the question is going to be, will Demise just answer with the Varus in this situation?
I mean, it seems like the obvious choice, right? Realistically, you should spike earlier and have more power in the early phases of the game, and they're immediately going to essentially completely shadow the bot lane that we saw from Enclave with the Thresh and the Varus locked in for Nemki and Chromax.
Yeah, that's a strong bot lane. I honestly think you go Tahm Kench here for MNM. I don't think you can take the Lulu in this situation because you will just get decimated. Tahm Kench gives you a safety net away from the Varus and the Thresh sort of CC tools, so you can play around that potentially. But they're going to take the set for now as a flex, and they're going for the Lulu. It's the scaling. You know, it is going to mean they have a late game insurance for sure, but that's dangerous. It's on the one hand, it's confident. On the other hand, it's in. So we'll see. It all depends on the pressure that Nemki and Chromax can apply in PFI. And we see the the LeBlanc come out for Beely. Big confidence pick for him, something that he is a solid player on. So Demise very much looking to lean into the early levels of this game and try and garner advantages there.
It's also a pick that I've seen Vango go on to a lot on blue side as well. Like Vango has kind of liked picking up the LeBlanc pick. I'm just being told that we may see some pauses in game, by the way. Don't want to say anything, but just to let you guys know and set expectations, we could see a couple of pauses in game, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. It's going to be the Elise band. I think that's a PFI pick that we've seen him play a lot throughout the course of his career. The Twisted Fate now, just trying to limit what Vango can go, I guess, into the mid lane matchups. We'll see how this second ban phase results after the next couple of bans.
I mean, Demise have come out huge here. They got the Varus Thresh, almost as if they called out the Varus not going to get picked up by MNM. So super strong bot lane. They get a mid lane LeBlanc pick, and then they can ban away the TF that they didn't want to deal with because it was the last pick in this rotation. And now they can take their jungler here, and they get counter pick for Rifty. So I'm really thinking Demise coming out strong here in the draft phase. Question is going to be, what will PFI take? Lee Sin, a really nice combo with the LeBlanc, but typically not as prominent a pick for PFI. And it looks like he could just be leaning towards that Rek'Sai. In the end, he goes for the Lee Sin. So there are a lot of proficient Lee Sin players that we see who will lean towards this really heavily. PFI, not as much. It's not more for signature champion phase, but it's great with the LeBlanc. Really good synergy between those two, and he could put down a ton of pressure. So now it's going to be the question, what can Vango answer with? They are going to take the Volibear. They can flex that with the set. We'll have to see what mid lane will be.
I think this actually adds an extra layer here for Demise to deal with, because I guess you aren't quite sure whether it's going to be set or Volibear top lane. There is that flexibility, and now that's sort of the crucial last pick that we talked about for Rifty. He now has to kind of play a guessing game. Now, my question to you is the same kind of champions that would do well into set and set the same kind of champions that would do well into Volibear?
I mean, they're both auto attack based, and they both do want to get up close to you and trade. But I think the way in which they do that is a little bit different. Really, with a Volibear, you want more extended trades, whereas set is quite a bit more bursty. So a little bit difficult, but we're going to see the Nocturne for Rifty. So something that was really weird to me at the start of this season, in scrims and stuff, the Nocturne top was like a really strong pick, especially with the new lethality items with the buffs coming through. Okay, well, I mean, I'll talk about it anyway. It may end up not being a Nocturne, but it could be. And I remember Nocturne top being sort of seen as one of these really powerful picks that are hard to deal with in the solo lane environment with the lethality item, the one that gives lifesteal. I forget the name. But I never really saw it in competitive. It never came out. And now we might actually finally see it. And it's something that in the extended trades against a Volibear may well hold up well, because you can land that fear onto him. And against a set, you just don't really need to interact with him much. You just perma-shove the lane. And very much so, we're seeing Demise come with a composition where they want to capitalize on early game pressure. They want to have early game advantages, transition that into a strong mid game, and just be so far ahead of MNM they can't really do anything. Whereas for MNM, it's very much about mitigating the pressure. So they had the flex top jungle to make it harder for Rifty to counter pick. They have the Galio, who's going to be a little bit of a brick wall in the mid lane, but also can roam. And then bot lane is just scaling insurance. So MNM hoping the game goes slower, but I am a little bit concerned that there's definitely difficulties with dealing with just the raw power Demise has available to them early.
Yeah, I just been told there was again, we said there was a slight connection issue with one of the players. I believe Nemki was just working to get him back in there. I'm wondering whether Nocturne was the pick or whether Nemki just disconnected towards the end of the draft there. I guess we'll find out.
I hope it's a pick.
It'd be very interesting if that's going to be the case. We're just waiting to get this champion select underway once more. Once we get there, we'll be able to bring that to you. You talked a little bit about sort of how these teams match up against each other. The Nocturne top, I think you expanded on a little bit. Does it, like, what do you do with the ultimate with Nocturne top? Is it just that you go down mid over and over again, or do you play it a bit more like a Scion, where you back off, look for something bot, and then teleport back top?
I think it's a little bit less so like the sort of go bot and then teleport top situation. You can do that. It's great for setting up skirmishes, and also obviously whenever the top laners are rotating for an objective, you're going to be faster. But typically, I mean, you're not going to be as sort of roaming heavily as a Scion, because you can just play greedy for the side lane. You can be a massive threat in 1v1s. Having the spell shield and the ability to fear for an extended duration just makes it very, very hard to deal with you, especially if he does manage to pick up that lethality item, whose name I forget. You know the one I mean, though.
No, just describe what it does to me.
It's red in color, and when you're isolated, Sanguine Blade.
Sanguine Blade, okay. Yeah.
Blade. So the Sanguine Blade, really powerful from him. He benefits massively from the attack speed, and obviously the isolated situation is great. So I expect to see him potentially picking that one up. Blade of the Rune King, also a really good item on him. Obviously the sustain and big with auto attacks, and being a melee champion, he does get the benefits of that buff. So if it is the Nocturne top, look to see Rifty just being a menace in the side lane, as we expect from him, but also has the opportunity to group in fights, potentially just assassinate someone.
What's the win condition then with this Demise roster? Like, where is it that they look to win in this game? Do they have to take the advantage early and snowball it, or do they have multiple win conditions that they can play towards?
You're playing towards yearly pressure. I mean, Nocturne's going to come out, if it's a Nocturne, if that is what they picked, it's going to come in as sort of like a split pushing threat later on. But for the most part, it's going to be around the early pressure and transition that into a big gold lead. Lee Sin LeBlanc is a typical mid lane jungle combo when you want to win that 2v2 and you want to apply consistent pressure from that, and then you can move the LeBlanc down towards bot lane. You have a Thresh Varus who it's so easy to set up, especially once Varus hits level 6. You just fire out those chains of corruption, very hard to dodge away from. Thresh follows up, and then likely you're going to have Lee Sin LeBlanc able to come in if they back away to the tower. So that's what I'm hoping to see. Pressure mid, translate that to pressure bot, and Demise should be good to go. And really, it's just a question of, can MNM prevent this from happening? Is there really a good response from them? And they've given themselves some tools, but I still feel like the Tahm Kench would have been a better option to keep them safe. Potentially even they could have at the last second gone Lulu mid and thrown the Tahm Kench bot lane. But the end result is they are going with that Galio.
I'm just waiting to hear. Looks like we're still struggling to get the game started. Nemki actually still in game. Actually looks like someone else, Chromax, is disconnected. I'll keep you updated as much as we can when it comes to the starting of our third game of the night. You briefly touched on MNM's composition. I guess I'll reflect the question over to you. MNM, is it purely sort of waiting for the scaling to happen here?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's not just waiting, but it's also finding opportunities to punish with the Galio numbers advantage. You have a great front line. You have an Aphelios on a back line. So by all means, if you get a good 5v5, if you protect Aphelios, you're golden. You can't really complain around those situations, but it is going to be a big ask.
Let's have a look at the standings, guys. I've just been told that we still need to wait a little bit longer to be able to jump into picks and bans here. So let's take a look at the standings. This is how it stands after a couple of games. Enclave at the top, as you can see, tied with Envision. But, you know, MNM and Demise have the opportunity to pull ahead to the top of the league with a win in this scenario. We are going to likely guarantee, or we will guarantee, not even likely, we will guarantee someone takes that top spot at the end of this game between Demise and MNM. And I'm just waiting. Again, like I said today, we are being delayed getting into this game for whatever reason. I'm not sure what the reason is just right now. So unfortunately, that means I'm going to throw it to a quick break, and hopefully we will be back into the action as soon as possible. Oh, it's this. Oh, hello everybody! I got a little bit surprised there. I was quickly catching up on food whilst we were resolving the issue with Demise, and the overall change has been that Chromax unfortunately could not connect. And with the official sub, they've been allowed to bring in Wolfie, who has come in, or Wolf, who's come in to support the support role with Nemki in the bot lane. As far as I've been told, we're into picks and bans. I'm being told that it actually has to be the same picks and bans despite the change in roster here. There was some discussion about this. I wasn't sure if it was being confirmed, but I'm being told that it has to be the same. Oh, the last pick is different. Okay, I've literally just been told the last pick is different. So all of you who were very hopeful about a Nocturne top, that might not actually be the case here in this matchup. I feel like that might have been a placeholder because of the connection issues that they were having. But regardless, it's the same pick and ban until the final pick, which Demise will then have the choice on what they want to go for.
Yep. And got a little bit of a different order there with PFI taking the Lee Sin, but end result is going to be pretty similar. So unfortunate for Demise, honestly. They lose Chromax, and now Wolf going to be playing the Thresh. Essentially, hopefully, he'll just be a Lantern bot. But when we're talking about applying pressure to this Aphelios Lulu bot lane, I feel like MNM have gotten pretty fortunate in that scenario. Obviously, can't really play around the fact that one of your players isn't able to connect. But it does mean that we're expecting more pressure to come from the rest of the team to sort of make up the slack. It is still the same draft. It's still going to be the same Demise looking to establish that early pressure and snowball with it. It's just one different player for that Thresh. And we'll see what Rifty actually wants to get his hands onto.
Yeah, it'll be the Thresh pickup here for Demise. I mean, they could pick whatever they wanted, I think, at this point, but the Thresh will come through. And yeah, obviously MNM are going to round out their competition the same way. But it'll be the last pick that'll be interesting. That's the one that we want to focus on here, because obviously it was previously Rifty picking up the Nocturne, but obviously now he has the option to change that, as I believe that was not the correct pick that he was looking for.
Have to see. Tension's on. I wouldn't honestly be against him playing a heavy split pusher. Jack's already banned away, but there are alternative options.
It's the Illaoi. Now, we did see this from Rogue in the LEC this weekend. She has been creeping back into the top lane, and Illaoi for Rifty, which I think, you know, Illaoi is one of those matchups that it's difficult for most melee matchups in the top lane. Illaoi is a bit of a nuisance into a lot of melee matchups, and unfortunately, that is going to be Aragon on the volley bear having to deal with Illaoi top.
And essentially, it's a great anti-dive champion, because essentially, if they're trying to kill Nemki, you just stand on top of him, and Aragon, Gadunica, and Vango are just free pickings. Melee champions into Illaoi, really not great. And even Aphelios doesn't have like a huge range. So although he can shred through the likes of Rifty if he has the right weapon setup, if he gets into that ult sort of radius, he's going to have a bad time. So I really like this pick. I like what it enables for the team. It can also be a big split push threat, although not as typically good as being a threat in that regard as compared to things like Fiora or the Camille. It gives them a lot of team fighting power, ultimately. It gives the opportunity for Rifty to really challenge Aragon and Gadunica, potentially, if they go 2v1 against him in top lane. I like the pick, but it just comes down to how well they're going to be able to make this work with Wolf on support.
That's the big driving question, right? Obviously, it's something that's the elephant in the room. You would love to be able to analyze this on a level playing field, but quite clearly, Wolf is a mid lane main for the most part, and to be able to shove down in the bot lane on someone as influential and as mechanically important as Thresh, this might be a big ask. Now, what I would say is that I think most players who have ever played support, or at least even tried out support, Thresh has been something that most players want to get their hands on. He's probably one of the more fun supports to play in the game. I know that when I played support, Thresh was a big pick for me. So I imagine, obviously, most players have got experience with this champion at a decent level. But that is going to be the question that we need to ask is, will their bot lane be capable of standing up to Harry and Dreampire when they've got someone who is quite clearly off role at this point?
And that's the thing, is like, typically you just don't want to die. If you're subbing into the wrong role, your goal is to avoid like feeding, but you need to do more than that in this game. You need to be challenging Harry and Dreampire. And something I'm noticing just from when we're loading in is Wolf has gone exhaust. So this instantly suggests to me that he's in the mindset of, let's just prevent anything bad from happening. But you're playing Thresh Varus into Lulu Aphelios. that can't be your plan. You cannot just let them scale up for free. Otherwise, you are going to have a rough time unless your teammates can really look to carry on the rest of the map. So we'll have to see how it pans out, but ultimately it is a disadvantage. Now, I will say that typically it can be really rough losing a player if they're also a big vocal aspect of your team. But I know from experience that PFI and Rifty are both players who will speak a lot. So yeah. I don't feel like this team is going to struggle. Beely as well. I think I'm not too sure about Nemki, but I know this roster has a lot of voices on it. So I wouldn't be too concerned about them losing Chromax's voice. But the ability to punish Harry and Dreampad, that's what I'm worried about. So we'll have to see. It is Harry with Cleanse, so a bit of a harder target, but the Lulu is generally free pickings for a Thresh. It is a rough matchup for the Lulu.
And I think really whenever you look at Demise, we talk about it a lot, your eyes have to be on Rifty. A lot of times that we've seen Demise play, and Rifty in general in teams, even if the team in general is in a bad position, Rifty is kind of able to execute his own win conditions, like his own split push win conditions, his own 1v1 potential. He is a player that commands a lot of resources, both against him and for him, you know, in terms of what's invested in dealing with him versus what's given to him as well. So this is a guy that I think is going to quite clearly draw a lot of attention in this particular game, especially going up into Aragon, who I actually think's been pretty solid, actually, for MNM in the top lane. Aragon kind of burst on to the scene, I think, in the first time I saw him play anyway, was the first year of, or the first split of UKLC last year. And he's kind of gone from strength to strength as well. And especially this split of the UKLC, I've been pretty impressed by Aragon.
Yeah, I think he's been good. I think the thing is, like, it's always going to be, is he as good as Rifty? No, he hasn't shown that yet, because Rifty has just been the force to be reckoned with. But I think he's definitely a top lane I could see holding his own, at least, not getting sort of annihilated. But we'll have to see. Again, the pressure isn't really on MNM. They just want to withstand the early aggression that will come out from Demise. So anytime you see like a slow pace of a game, anytime you see things extending without anything happening, that is just MNM getting their win condition. But Demise looking to keep the pace of this game up as much as possible.
And obviously we're going to keep our eyes peeled on how Wolf interacts on this bottom side of the map. It looks like already Guernica is heading down towards this side, maybe looking to twist the knife on an area that may be a little bit below par for Demise, and Wolf is going to be immediately targeted. They're going to flash in, look for Nemki as well. Nemki thought he could get out. He does have that flash available. Continue to apply that red buff right now as Guernica forces the flash too. A nice little attempt to get him down with that tower shot, but Guernica knows where to apply pressure to really put Demise on the wrong foot to begin with. Yeah,
I mean, he got the summoners, and hate to say it, but you can definitely see Wolf's inexperience. He had Lantern. Typically, if your wave's in a bad position, you have Lantern, you should stand back and it's usually called play Lantern, where you stand at max Lantern range behind your AD carry, and you let them hit the wave, and then if anyone comes, you just throw the Lantern out, they're safe. That's what you should have done in that situation, and it would have meant both of you were able to get out pretty safely, or at bare minimum survive losing summoners. But I've got to say, this is not a good start for Demise by all means.
It's going to feel bad for the bot lane as well in terms of just morale. Coming into this knowing that you're just a disadvantage from the get-go, really through no fault of your own as well. Nemki and Wolf already feels like, just with where Guernica is positioning, that this is going to be the punching bag for MNM. They're going to continuously look to just make that harder and harder and take as many advantages as they physically can on that side of the map. You know, the more they stay away from Rifty, probably the better. If Aragon can just quite happily hold his own in this scenario, they probably don't care that much. And it's up to PFI to somehow respond here, whether he's looking to counter gank or try and snowball Rifty. But for me, Guernica going back to that bottom side of the map, the bot is reset as well again. I really don't expect to see Guernica doing too much else other than looking to facilitate dives on the bottom side, especially with the Galio, and just look to pressure out Wolf and Nemki as much as possible.
And why not? I mean, if you shut down this Varus Thresh, it's just going to become an issue. Bot lane can get out of control, and just having two members you can move around the map who are strong, really dangerous to deal with. Harry already has the BF sword, and Nemki can't even afford the serrated Dirk. So massive damage discrepancy there. Because of the pressure afforded to MNM, MNM got the shove in bot and they managed to reset first. Guernica can just start up this dragon. Galio has priority mid. This is great for MNM so far. Worrying for Demise. And I really think once Beely has level 6, once PFI has level 6, potentially Nemkis as well, that's where we can see a bit of a resurgence. They can use those tools to sort of instigate plays and pressure. But until that point, they're kind of just at the bane of MNM.
It's already a 700 gold lead opening up, and CS advantage is not huge given the wave for Harry on the bottom side, but again, you can just see, just even by behavioral positioning in the lane, Wolf and Nemki do not want to get anywhere close to Dreampire and Harry, who looks like they're going to back off. Guernica is hovering as well. Plus, you know, now level 6 of Vango, any engages that happen on the bottom side of the map, you're always going to have to worry about Galio joining in.
Yeah, you can't commit to that. There was no way PFI was going to. He just wanted to clear some vision. Now they're looking for Guernica, though. Level 6 Beely, they could actually burst him out pretty handily, but got to be concerned about that Galio coming in. Remember, they did change it, so it gives a magic damage shield, similar to the one he has available to him. So, good at just mitigating that burst from Beely.
Yeah, Vango has been having a decent laning phase so far. Beely's been able to pressure out the Galio too much in this matchup. But it's been pretty quiet since that early gank down the bot lane for Guernica. I was expecting to potentially see some pressure down there, then an 8-minute rotate up for the Rift Herald, but again, a little bit slower on the rotations here, Demise and MNM. And apart from Rifty generating that CS lead on the top, not much else to speak of so far.
That is a big CS lead, though. I mean, it's what we expect from Rifty. That is significant. But is it going to matter? That's going to be the question. I think Rifty is... He sets the level. I think, honestly, I'm going to say, I think there's a lot of NLC top laners who I think Rifty would smash. So I don't think it's... I don't think you can fairly look at Aragon and say he's not doing good here. Down in CS is fine. We've seen a lot worse in the matchups against Rifty. And I'll highlight again, that's not your win condition. Your win condition is to let your bot lane become a driving force. Aragon just needs to survive, and being down and farm, it's fine.
Yeah, Harry's managed to get 2 plates from the bot lane push here. But realistically, CS difference is not huge for Nemki. It's only 4 right now, and that's perfectly fine if you're the Demise bot lane, knowing that you're playing at a disadvantage just from the get-go. Demise have handled the early game despite that gank very nicely so far. But MNM have not been... But...
I'm saying that's the problem. You don't pick Varus Thresh bot lane to handle the early game and be even in CS. That is a loss. That is just a... If enemy Aphelios has got 2, now 3 plates, a kill lead, and a slight CS lead, that's... If it's the other way around, fine. But if you have a Varus Thresh in that situation, you've literally just lost. It's harsh, but it's... You don't pick this lane to survive. You pick this lane to win. You pick this lane to crush, and it looks like they're the ones about to get crushed.
It's a nice hook from Wolf there, actually, just trying to buy time onto Guernica. He's going to be targeted down as Vango teleports in, and again, we expected this. We expected the pressure to be there. Guernica hung around. They lulled Nemki and Wolf into a false sense of security, and they should pick up the first tower of the game. Rifty has not been able to get as much done on the top side of the map. This will allow PFI to get the Rift Herald relatively uncontested, but that's a big loss on the bottom side of the map, and as you said, not exactly what you want when you're playing a Varus Thresh lane, and this might even be worse for Nemki as Vango does take him down very low.
And I get your point about how, like, considering they have a sub support, you know, they're not doing awful, and I completely agree, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you have a sub support or not. The fact you got to look at is how the game has gone. You know, that's a reason why this happened. But the end result is you have a 2-0 Aphelios who finishes Infinity Edge, 20 CS sub with plates from the tower. Bot lane is over. Mid lane hasn't really been able to find anything. And as much as there's a lead top lane, it's not enough. And you're not really going to be able to translate that into something, because now Harry and Dreampire is going to be moving about the map. And anytime you think you have an advantage, they'll come into your lane and you won't be able to do anything.
Yeah, this is probably the start that MNM needed to just accelerate the game a little bit further. And especially now that the lanes have been unlocked a little bit, it takes Rifty out of isolation, right? It takes that potential for Rifty to get an isolated extended laning phase where he can really generate a huge advantage. That's now kind of not in question anymore for Demise. Rifty's trying his best here, but again, at the end of the day, he's still playing into a volley bear. Can't really dive that turret, can't really take any significant leads here. Just has to kind of slowly work his way through. And the rest of the team is going to be so occupied with dealing with Eminem's dealing with Eminem across the rest of the map that I just don't think Rifty's going to get the resource investment that he needs this game to really pop off.
No, and I mean, again, like, he's building up a farm lead, he's pressuring his tower. MNM can just rotate around and deny this, but they're just more focused on this dragon. Ocean Soul, one of the best scaling souls as well. If you look at this MNM composition, they have 3 beefy frontliners. They're going to be so hard to kill with the healing available. It just becomes very difficult. And I'm like, that PFI is moving the pressure towards top lane. They should be able to throw the Herald down here and just get the tower. It's good. It's something, but yeah.
They just got a kill onto Nemki on the bot lane. That was, I think, Set joining up with Vango. Beely, although he's been pretty quiet, he hasn't had much opportunity to unlock himself from the mid lane. He's been stuck there. There hasn't been many opportunities for him to roam because bot lane has been getting so hard smashed, and realistically, Rifty hasn't needed it.
Yeah, and I mean, Galio is good into the LeBlanc, but you can definitely see that the game Demise are playing is ignore bot lane and just try and make something else happen, which they might have found.
Tried to go for the hook there. That's an immediate flash from Harry.
I feel like you could have seen the R flash from PFI, but maybe concerned about overstepping. I mean, you had the lantern. I feel like you R flash. If Harry manages to flash it, then you just get lanterned out. But ultimately, they're being the summoner, so you can't really complain. But, even before the early game, when you look towards the later team fights, you're always thinking, this is going to be a we need to kill Harry situation on this Aphelios. Now, with how fed he is, this is absolutely going to be a we need to kill this Aphelios scenario. And they will continue to look to pick him, to look to find pressure on him, to burn his summoners. And it's just whether it's going to be enough. Right now, we see a 1-3-1 sort of opened up for MNM. For Demise. MNM can answer this, though. I mean, Galio is fine in the side lane. Aragon, as much as he is now 50 CS down, and there's big CS discrepancies in both solo lanes compared to Demise. But, I mean, CS discrepancies can be huge as you want. When there's an Aphelios with a Lulu, you're always concerned.
Beely now going to be the target for Godenica and Vango here. He gets dragged back in. Don't think he's escaping, and Vango will pick up the kill. It is pain across the entire map for Demise, and you can just see Rifty doing... He just tries. He's trying on the bottom side, but again, it's not like he's playing... Well, I say that PFI, there's the flash kick. This might actually be able to get the kill onto Harry. He immediately gets the Lulu ultimate. Nemki's doing what he can. Galio ultimate coming through. He's still alive! He's still going! Oh no. My god! No way! Huge win for MNM, and Demise caught out with Vango's ultimate.
Just absolute disaster for Demise. You go in, the kick's there. You think you have enough damage. You're getting close, but he turns it around. He had the gun combination you need. It was the Crescendum and the Severum. He had the sustained damage, and then Vango comes in clutch. You killed him. You got Harry, but you lost 3 people for it. And I don't think anyone would take that trade. 7-1 the scoreline of 14 minutes. Looking pretty rough now for Demise.
Doing what they can. The double chain's coming through. Unfortunately, Beely unable to get that to connect with the hook. This is. I mean, I think I want to analyze this. I want to break it down, but it just feels like the bot difference has been exploited to a pretty heavy degree here for MNM.
We have to factor in the gold lead isn't actually that big. I'd actually like to see the individual gold numbers, because I think if you look at bot lane, there's a huge gap, but there's one top lane as well. I think it's sort of playing around your strengths, because yes, Harry is miles stronger than Nemki, and from now on always will be. But Rifty is a lot stronger than Aragon, so I could see scenarios where the team fights work out for MNM, but 99.5% of them come from Harry being one shot. So or maybe not being there, essentially, is what you're ideally looking for if you want to win these, because Harry's so strong, and Vango now as well, having picked up a fair share of gold.
The thing is, like, you always need to contextualize gold leads. You need to say what can teams do with them, like, because even though the gold doesn't look that huge, like it's 1.5k, you know, when you break it down, it's like, what does that mean? What can a team feasibly do with that advantage? And when you look at Demise, the only feasible thing they can do with a Rifty gold lead is let him continue to split. But when you have to start worrying about Dragon Soul, and you have to start worrying about Baron spawning in 4 or 5 minutes, and right now Rifty has been unable to get any significant advantage in the side lane, that's definitely going to be a problem. You see this, they're going straight on. Beely picks up the kill. Rifty will be flashing away as a nice kick comes through from Vango, keeping Rifty alive in this scenario. And maybe Demise can do something with this, as Wolf unable to land the hook here. Still, a small sliver of hope for Demise in that side lane. But irrespective, you know, Rifty still unable to get side lane pressure. You know, realistically, when you're playing with an advantage in the side lane, Dan, it's all about the towers and the pressure you can get. You know, with the volley bed just clearing waves, it's been difficult.
But they did get a kill. This could be enough for them to get this dragon. Now, mid lane is being threatened. Rifty's not TPing in. He wants to be able to hold that for later. So this tower may end up going... Actually, they're going to be in position to defend this. So tower doesn't even go down. They get the dragon. This is a massive win for Demise, in all honesty. That pick from Rifty, pretty critical there. And yeah, they considering how far ahead MNM's specific members are, considering how strong Harry is, that's an absolute win. Absolute win for Demise.
Almost a flame horizon for Rifty. Actually, that, I think, it goes against everything that I was just talking about. Like, I felt like it was going to be difficult to exploit that side lane gold advantage that Rifty had, but right there, they played around him. They played around him and were able to capitalize that and turn it into a neutral objective, though Nemsky gets taken very low. There is the lantern to try and keep him safe. PFI maybe just committing to his own death here as Wolf throws out the hook. Beely's making his way round. I think just going to be trading 1-for-1 towers, as you can see Rifty going for that tier 1 on the bottom side of the map. MNM just trying to make it difficult for Demise, trying to say, if you want to leave Rifty in the side lane, that's fine. We're just going to group and siege.
That's what you should do, you know, when you're dealing with a split pusher, because Rifty's got a lot of work to do before he's really threatening or knocking on the base. And MNM just aren't holding back. Nemki consistently being targeted here, and Harry feeling super confident on this Aphelios. Really strong right now, and gold lead is starting to grow a little bit after taking these towers, but it's the individual gold leads. That's why if you look at the top of the screen, it's not going to tell the full story. It's that 2k gold lead for Rifty, it's that 2.5k gold lead for Harry. Those are the things that we're really focused on, and ultimately I'm feeling more confident if I have the Fed Aphelios going to the late game. But for now, Rifty might be in a tricky situation.
Remember, this is one of those picks. Ilaoi is very good at dealing with large sort of disadvantages in numbers. The ultimate is there. He'll take 1 kill, which realistically is a good trade. Damage onto Harry is huge as well.
What is this jump?
Ilaoi, dude.
Those tentacles just bopping. And honestly, the saving grace there was Dreampire's polymorph. That one ability ensured Harry was alive, but you could see how scary Rifty is. 10 CS per minute, Fed side-laning on an Ilaoi. You know, you swing for the king, you best not miss, because he does so much damage.
Yeah, that was almost a 2-for-1 as well. I mean, Ilaoi's kind of queen of the 2v1 situations. You just pop the ultimate and the tentacles do the rest of the work for you in a lot of cases. And but even there, that was a 4v1. He still managed to come away with something.
But you got to praise how Rifty played it. He instantly got the tether down onto the Galio. That's a big factor with Ilaoi, is landing those tethers is the difference between you going like that and getting nearly a 1v4 and getting a kill in nearly a second. And if you miss it, it's just completely different. And consistently landing the tentacles for the heals. Obviously, the tether gives you their soul to target, which is a stationary one. Almost impossible to miss. But, I mean, it's really well played by Rifty. He's now got a Death Dance, so going to be even more of a threat. And he is this scary thing for MNM. It's like, can they deal with him in a side lane? I don't know. Can they deal with him in a team fight? I mean, it depends how he gets into the team fight. If he's in melee range of Harry, then absolutely not.
You can see MNM, they're keen to try and keep the game in the places where they have the advantage. Those are around these skirmishes on neutral objectives, basically the 4v4, where they just don't have Rifty involved in any way, shape, or form. You can see Gdanica chasing Wolf down. A big dive away here for the Demise roster. Vango now going to try and push down the mid. Beely still splitting in the side lane, trying to push that wave out, make it so that MNM have to deal with it. And Rifty again, just constantly pushing on to Aragon here. He's going to try and focus this inhibitor turret. This is actually Rifty coming alive in this side lane, and Aragon is really struggling to deal with him. You can see the Baron has been started up now.
They have to do it. They have to start it.
Yeah, Rifty might teleport here, though.
He is moving out of range, so he could come in. Trapped in a pit. This is a great scenario for an Alawi. Or will PFI get another steal? That's what he's famous for.
There isn't really many good teleport locations for Rifty here. You can see it. They may be just looking for the steal situation as they actually abandon the Baron. Harry on the other side. Jungler not even in the pit right now. They do pick up a kill. Gdanica taken very low, but the Baron has reset for the time being. PFI still waiting in the wings as Rifty doing what he can. There is a ward over the wall. Beely and Nemki doing what they can to try and prevent this from going down, and they just give up on it.
Yeah, Gdanica has no smite. He actually used his smite in that fight, so he doesn't even have one available. There's no way they can do that. So they try to bluff with Demise, and they lost.
And Beely now trying to get onto Vango. The chains come through. That's immediately into the Zhonyas. He will flash, but he will go down to PFI. And the pressure from Rifty caused too many wrong decisions there from MNM, and Demise come away with it.
Yeah, Demise were patient. They didn't feel pressured in that scenario, and MNM felt like they had to contest. Now, Harry could be in trouble here.
Harry could be in trouble here as Beely jumps over the wall, dodges out from the ultimate, but Nemki and PFI taken very low because of it. Rifty, however, on the side lane, still something to worry about. He has that ultimate, and he's in the middle of the fight. Suddenly, this is a big issue for MNM as they cannot deal with how strong Rifty is. And he has warded them away, potentially, from this second dragon in the game.
He try and finish it off. Gdanika's coming, but he is low. If I gets it.
He's going to just flash over the wall here. Wolf and Nemki, they are probably just dead in this scenario. They haven't really got anywhere to back to as Harry flashes in. That's already going to be the first kill. And now PFI thrown straight into the taunt. He'll try and dive away as Wolf will be the final target. Harry should get his triple here, but they do get a denial on the Drake. Aragon will pick that one up. Can they convert that into a Baron straight up, though? It looks like that's where they're going for it.
Yeah, I think it's a big ask for Rifty and Beely to 2v5. They got a dragon, so they're denying the soul, but this could just be MNM heading towards the Baron. I think it was a little bit sloppy, the escape. Wolf flashed very late. You definitely can throw a lantern down and then flash with it to get people further. But ultimately, they had to commit to the dragon. They got it. They didn't quite get out. And now it looks like the Baron is probably going to go down to MNM. It's just, can Rifty just destroy them here?
He's got his ultimate available. You know, if he just jumps in, he flashes away immediately. Very scared of that. And he has his ultimate ready to go. He gets polymorphed instantly. That's not the play, but he does land the ultimate eventually. Rifty doing what he can.
He gets him.
He gets a kill there, the shutdown onto Harry, but the Baron does go in favor of MNM.
I mean, all in all, you were going to stop the Baron. You get 1,000 gold shutdown on a Rifty. I'd take it. Get mid tower as well. It's not a great situation, but you consider how the game could have been. This could have been a 3rd, 4th dragon for MNM. This could be them having the Baron and Harry still being alive. This is not a good situation for Demise, but this game has never been a good situation for Demise. You got to take what you get, and they got a decent result there. So, you know, we've got to see what they can do with it. Can they mitigate the Baron from MNM? MNM finally getting that objective, which is going to allow them to siege up and apply more pressure. Rifty has just respawned.
This is one of the things that I think MNM will now be able to leverage over Demise, is the fact that it's a lot harder for Rifty to ignore the siege potential of MNM when they have the Baron minions to work with. It's all very well when you don't have the Baron. Rifty can kind of say, well, they've got the wave clear with the Varus. Beely has a bit of wave clear in his kit as well. But now versus the Baron minions, that's not going to work anywhere near at the same level. It's going to force Rifty to join these fights. It's going to force Rifty to have to come and help defend in a team fight scenario. And, you know, especially as you talked about versus the Lulu with the polymorph, he might not be strong enough to actually carry them over the line in that scenario.
I mean, the polymorph is just really the big counter to these melee champions trying to get in and be a threat. Polymorph is such a frustration. They are defending quite well in this scenario.
Rifty's kind of just going to get on that front line, trying to drag a soul out and get some damage down. He's doing a decent amount of work with that tentacle smash. Beely as well has been impressive in terms of the way that he's been applying pressure to that front line. And Demise are just rebutting MNM, stopping them from getting much more than those outer turrets, which is really, I think, the best plan for Demise in this scenario.
If MNM are unable to break the space, then this is a massive disappointment for having the Baron. That is their goal of it. They're still going to try. They haven't got a big wave coming in now. Demise doing their best to try and prevent it. Aragon chunked out there, but Beely as well.
Yeah, but exactly, Beely. But Beely's closer to his own base to be able to sort of get that HP back. Now he dives over the wall. Pressure onto Dream Pie. The kick is there immediately onto Harry, who is dragged under the tower. This is big for Demise because Rifty's already started to pop off. The tentacles are throwing down, and Rifty, absolutely insane. Double kill comes through, but it is a win for Demise overall.
Huge fight there for Demise, and honestly, Harry survived way longer than any AD carry ever has a right to. He gets a lot of damage in return, but Demise managed to carry through. We'll just pick up Vango here. Dragon spawning at 47. They should be in position to set up, and he just actually managed to find Nemki, who had his summoners, so bit of an interesting one there. But ultimately, Demise had to find the fight to defend the base. Beautiful kick from PFI. Even without his flash, he doesn't need it. And then they're there to deliver. And yeah, Harry did a ton of damage, and he survived such a long time under tower of all places. But they still managed to take him down, and Rifty was able to clean up. So Demise not giving up. And now Dragon spawning in 15. Soul for neither team. Still need 2 for that one, but does get you one step closer.
What a crazy game this has been so far. It really has been Rifty versus the world, but Demise have made the best of a bad situation, and they are now going to take the, well, you feel like they're going to take the lead in terms of dragons right now. I mean, MNM are here to respond. I mean, Rifty's just sitting there, though. He's looking for another flank scenario. And you can see on the side lanes, MNM are very well aware that he is there, and immediately Wolf is going to be the guy focused down. But Rifty's on the sidelines looking for an ultimate. He's looking to get right into the middle of the team fight as he's thrown straight out by Gadunica. He's going to be the focus now as Rifty has to pop that stopwatch. The rest of Demise cannot get in, and that's a shutdown over to Harry. Suddenly, it all goes wrong. And MNM, they are the ones that come out on top. A triple kill for Harry. They're going to push down mid. This might just be game ending.
Yeah, Harry just a bit too strong right now. Rifty just unable to deal with him. Rough to see because Demise really did everything they could, but MNM, Harry is just too strong right now.
It just felt like Rifty was too keen to find the flank there. I understand what he did. I feel like it was probably the only way that Demise were going to come away with a good win in that scenario. Nothing that Wolf and PFI can do here. Rifty tried his damn hardest for Demise, but MNM, unfortunately, are able to just close out despite having that advantage in the bot lane, and MNM will take the win and take the top spot in the UKLC. Deservedly so, though. This team has looked good over the course of the last few weeks, and especially Harry, that huge AD carry prospect, again, proving that he is someone to keep our eye on.
Absolutely, and they put the faith in him. I think you can see that consistently from draft. They put faith in Harry and rely on him to be that big carry. And there's always going to be the discussion, would this have happened if they had Nemki and, if they had Chromax and they didn't have Wolf? Possibly not. But also, it possibly could have happened. This is how MNM like to play. They like to put the resources on Harry. And if you get the Lulu and the Aphelios 2 laning phase, you're just always going to be that menace later on. So, as much as it's unfortunate we didn't get to see Demise's full roster, still have to praise MNM for how they played that out, especially when they dealt with the Rifty problem, which more than anything was a massive issue. Rifty showing really what he can do in the side lane.
Yeah. I think realistically, you know, like I said, I said unfortunately, mainly just because it was kind of nice to see Demise do so well despite being put 200 meters behind the starting line to begin with. But realistically, you know, you look at MNM, you look at this roster, we've talked about them being a big up-and-coming prospect in the UKLC, and I think they're just proving you know, again, that the M&M Academy roster is a real contender for the sort of the top 2 spots in this particular league. But, you know, I've got to give credit to Rifty. He did what he could. Again, I feel like there is so many times throughout my casting history in UK League of Legends where I've said, Rifty did what he could. I want to say, eventually, Rifty, you know, gets the win deservedly. I want to be able to say that I'm not saying that Rifty did so well despite his team losing. I want to say, wow, Rifty had such a huge impact in that win. That's what I want to say about Rifty eventually. I feel like too many times in my casting history I've said Rifty did what he could, but his team weren't able to close it out. But I think that's in that particular scenario obviously justified. I mean, you have a team that had a sub in the bot lane. That's hard to kind of get around, but he still is constantly impressed over the years. Definitely one of the top laners that, like you said, could contend at an NLC level for sure.
Here's hoping that tomorrow we get full strength Demise and we get to see them just show what they're made of. Because I think with Beely as an addition, they really could be a formidable team. We'll have to see. But either way, MNM secure their spot in first for day 1 of week 3. So huge for them. I think a lot of people coming into the split just did not expect this from this MNM roster. They have delivered. And as much as this final game wasn't against a full strength Demise, they got to this point on the back of them being really solid performers and knowing exactly how to play towards their win condition, which has typically been Harry on these auto-attack based AD carries.
Yeah, well, what I would say as well is that, you know, they had a problem that game and they dealt with it. They had a problem and they dealt with it, and they still managed to... I mean, that game could very easily have gone the other way, you know, if the team fights just weren't played the way they were, if the decisions that MNM made were slightly different, that could have gone very, very differently. So we have to praise MNM, despite having a rough top side of the map to deal with. They still managed to secure the win. And again, that bottom side is looking very strong for the MNM roster. Now we're going to go to a break. When we're back, we've got an interview with Aragon, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the UKLC. MNM secure the top spot in our tournament after that win over Demise. Obviously, Demise had that sub. We've talked about it extensively, but irrespective, they still managed to secure a solid win. We are waiting on Aragon. I'm just being told that we might need to wait for some audio issues to be resolved. I think we've been told we've got him now, so I'm just going to double check if he's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. No audio issues. Fantastic. First of all, obviously, you had a pretty tough time into Rifty. Is that something that you were expecting? Yeah, is that something that you were expecting coming into this game?
So, I think he's an insane top lane. Honestly, I think he's the best in the league by far. I don't think it's even close. And on top of that, we had a plan to sort of sack me that game. I kind of kept having to leave lane, and so it was a lot of things compiled. He's better than me. He had counterpick, and I was really weak side. So, yeah, it was pretty rough. You saw the CS deficit, but there's not really much I could have done, I think.
What were the communications like in game when you started discussing how to deal with the Rifty problem?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit panicky towards the end, especially when we lost the team fight. Like, early on, obviously, it's fine, but later on, we sort of had to start dealing with him and going, I think we four-manned him, and he even killed our AD. But yeah, we had to like think of a plan around him because he was just so fed. I don't know.
Yeah, I think quite clearly it was quite obvious with Godonica spending most time bot side that you were kind of left to your own devices, and obviously with counterpick into Rifty, I don't think anyone was expecting you to win that matchup, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna open hopefully an honest dialogue here. Was that always the plan, or was it the fact that they subbed in Wolfbot, you were like, well, let's just make use of this?
It was always the plan. It only exacerbated it that it was Wolfbot in. I think yeah, it was always plan. We think our carries and our backline are better, and our jungle. That's not flame or anything. I mean, that's just what we went in thinking, and that Rifty's better than me. So, you know, play to your strengths. That's what we went for. Sack top.
Yeah, and I think sort of as a team, you've consistently shown that you'll look towards Harry to be one of your big carries. Is this just because you think he is one of the best ADs in the league, or do you think it's just a good style for the current meta?
Oh, for sure. I tweeted early on in the split. I think we have like one of the best backlines in the league. Like Harry's really, really good, like at carrying, and I think Vango's really strong mechanically as well in laning. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think MNM definitely looking like a roster that was heavily underrated, I think, coming into this season. You're quite clearly proving most people wrong in terms of where you are currently in the league. If you were, I mean, I'm going to just quickly double check who you guys have played. Is there anyone that you're thinking that might be a tough challenge for you going into the future?
Demise again. I'm not sure of the format. If we play against Demise again, it would be really hard because I think that team's good. We had a little bit of a tough time, even though, you know, they had to bring in a sub, which was unfortunate. I wanted to play against them at full strength. Who else? I think... I don't think London seems to be struggling.
Week 6 you play against Demise again, just to let you know.
So that would be scary. Enclave, I want to play again. Yeah, I think those two. Those are the strongest.
So obviously coming in the split, a lot of people had low expectations for you as a team compared to some of the other rosters. I think London Enclave were at the forefront, and obviously either of which have had a particularly good day today. Do you feel that people had a misread on the situation, or do you guys think you've clicked together very well?
I think it's a bit of both, right? I think we clicked together a lot better than anyone expected, and we expected, honestly. We brought in a lot of rookie talent like Harry. And, you know, I think people also look down on rookies a bit too much. But yeah, to answer your question, I think a bit of both.
I think that's a fair assessment. Aragon, thank you for joining us, mate. Congratulations on the win. I know it was a rough game for you, but the team managed to do what they needed to do to sort of secure that victory, and you are top of the league. So congratulations, and I'm sure we'll see you soon. All right, yeah, nice to hear from Aragon. Actually, you know, I like interviewing Aragon. He's always really eloquent and definitely, I think, accepting of the fact that that was definitely going to be a weak side, rough game for him there.
I mean,
again,
it's the fact he's very honest. You know, he says it was a rough game. Rifty's a really good player, and I think it takes a player who's strong mentally, but just in sort of facilitating his team to say, look, I'm not the win condition. I know a lot of players who don't like being put in that scenario, but he's happy to say, I'm not the win condition in this matchup. I'm happily going to take a back seat and let my teammates do the work. And I think it's a sign of a good team that has a lot of trust in each other when you're willing to do that. And it resulted in them being in the top of the league, so definitely working.
Absolutely. Now we're going to a quick break. Once we're back, we'll be gearing up for our last game of the day, Munster Rugby Gaming Academy versus Bulldog Esports. We'll see you soon.